Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you for joining me for another video. I'm not in my usual location and studio. As you can see by my background, things are a little bit different. Technically, I'm on vacation. We're staying for a week at North Star Tahoe's Great Bear Lodge. I call it camping, but we've got a 3-bedroom condo at a great resort property. It's fantastic. I have had some challenges with video recording because on the front side of the property, they've got bumping music going all day, boom, boom, boom. And that makes it a little bit difficult to share my Army story, which I want to share with you today. So today we're coming from inside one of the bedrooms at the resort. And it's just a testament to the fact that sometimes you've got to do what you've got to do. Today I wanted to share another clean Army story. This is a story about a set of circumstances that unfolded during my time while I served in Iraq back in 2004 and 2005. And this is a story about what can happen when an officer, in this case a field grade officer, 2 lieutenant colonels, wrote checks on their rank that they couldn't cover. And by that I mean sometimes you can get into a circumstance where rather than leaning on your good judgment, an officer can lean on his or her rank. Even in the commission of an unsafe or improper act, your rank cannot cover bad decision making or bad judgment. So here's the story. I served in Iraq in a multinational division, MNDCS, that's Multinational Division Center South. It was run by the Polish. And we had about 100 other US officers plus my team there. And I had a wide range of responsibilities, but today's story isn't about my responsibilities or what I was doing. Today's story is about these 2 lieutenant colonels, and they were from different locations. One of them was from Massachusetts, and he was Army National Guard, and the other lieutenant colonel was from Illinois. The lieutenant colonel from Massachusetts was the logistics and supply liaison officer to the division. His counterpart, the other lieutenant colonel from Illinois, was a member of a team from the Illinois National Guard, task assigned to provide support to the G4 Movement and Transportation Shop, and so he was a senior U.S. liaison officer. These 2 were friends, and they took up all kinds of projects together on a joint basis. Over my time there, I observed them engaging in a range of actions, some of which seemed well thought out and some of which seemed less well thought out. On this particular occasion, events played out around the time of the second Iraqi election to occur in that year of 2005. These 2 lieutenant colonels had taken it upon themselves, in support of the elections process in our area, to liaison with the local authorities on behalf of Multinational Corps Iraq, and they were providing a range of support services and supplies. And on this particular occasion, they left the installation in a couple of Humvees with trailers and equipment. During the time that they were outside of Camp Echo in the town of Diwania, the installation got a report of an IED at our northern entry control point. The report didn't stipulate exactly where it was, but the determination was made at that time to stop all traffic in and out of the installation through that entry control point. It was all shut down. The Romanian army was in charge of staffing the entry control point at that time. And so they were instructed to send a couple of Romanian soldiers forward outside of the entrance to the entry control point. Their job was to warn incoming convoys and turn them around and reroute them to the southernmost entry control point on the other side of the installation. Well, in this case, these 2 lieutenant colonels came in pretty fast and hot, and when they were informed that there was an IED somewhere in the vicinity, they decided that it was unacceptable for them to be expected to turn around. That area was basically an open field, and because nobody knew exactly where the reported IED was, an IED is an improvised explosive device, because nobody knew exactly where it was, they maintained that it was unsafe for them to try to back up, go off the road in backing up, and potentially expose themselves to being blown up by the IED. The Romanian soldiers, on the other hand, insisted that they were not permitted to allow anybody entrance through that entry control point, not even a couple lieutenant colonels. And things got heated and got more and more intense. And the lieutenant colonels demanded that these Romanian soldiers bring their OIC, or officer in charge, onto the scene. Their officer in charge was a captain who was escorted by a Romanian sergeant major. And they wanted to find out what all the fuss was why these U.S. personnel weren't doing what they were instructed to do and turn around. And as things became more and more unfriendly, one of these lieutenant colonels decided to remove his sidearm and wave it in the air as he was trying to underscore the seriousness of his point. Well, that resulted in the Romanian guards coming to raise rifles. The situation was escalating, not de-escalating. And finally, the sergeant major asserted himself and told everybody to put your weapons down, relax. There was no circumstance under which those Romanians were going to allow these lieutenant colonels or anyone else to enter through that entry control point. The situation had gotten out of hand, and those lieutenant colonels had crossed the line and gone too far. And they realized in that moment that he was right, they were wrong. And consequently, they turned themselves around and went through the other entry control point on the other side of the installation. It took them about 30 minutes to navigate around the perimeter to the other entry control point. Within that 30 minutes, the circumstances surrounding that interaction and that U.S. Lieutenant Colonel removing his sidearm and waving it around, brandishing his weapon, had reached the senior U.S. national representative there in the division, who then was obligated to prepare a serious incident report and push that forward to Multinational Corps Iraq. Within about 48 hours, both of those lieutenant colonels were standing at attention in front of the commanding general in Baghdad, General Casey. Both of those lieutenant colonels received general letters of reprimand, and for all intents and purposes, their careers were over. Those two lieutenant colonels went home, and their careers were done. A momentary lapse of judgment where an officer decides to flex their rank in the military setting, in the commission of an action that is clearly out of line, is a career ender. So today, my message is for you, specifically young up-and-coming captains, majors, and even newly minted lieutenant colonels. Don't write checks that your rank can't cover. There's no substitute for good, sound decision-making. You can never afford to allow your emotions to run away with your judgment. Good, sound decision-making is a non-negotiable. A letter of reprimand, whether it be from a commanding general or anyone else in your chain of command, well, that's not a career enhancer. As a young captain, I took note of what went down. I've always preferred to learn from somebody else's mistakes. Consequently, I've never received a letter of reprimand, not from anybody, let alone a commanding general. So the lesson learned here is, whether you're in a military setting or anywhere else, keep control of your temper. Don't let your emotions run away from you, and do the right thing. That's my Clean Army story for the day. Thank you for joining me. I'm grateful that you're here. If you like this kind of information, please hit the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the bell button. You'll get notifications every time we put out a video. Thanks for joining us today. We're always glad you're here.